welcome today on this very special online training with my dear friend Christina Berkley. We've come together to share with you some very profound information that can help you transform your coaching business. What we are going to talk about today is how you can take your existing coaching practice and really create elements around it that will allow you to expand the impact that you have on your clients, at the same point in time help you create a lot more abundance financially for yourself. Okay, and also create some time freedom if you position it right, if you create it right, all the systems are right, all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into that as we get into the presentation, as we get into the training, when I grill Christina on these different questions that I've also got from you guys to make sure that you get maximum out of this training and are able to create your coaching business in the unique way you want it to be and be able to create the abundance, freedom, and an impact that you really want to create. Okay, so I'll get right to it, but before that, hello, Christina.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi. It's good to be here.
Can we, thank you so much for taking the time. And before we get started into telling everybody about the great system that we are going to talk about, what about you introduce yourself a little bit, tell a little bit about your story so the audience could know you a little bit better.
Sure. Well, I struck out on my own as a coach about 6 years or so ago, and it was really exciting at first because I knew that this was something that I had to do. It was the thing that I was best at, and it was the thing that gave me the most joy. So I was so excited that there was a way that I could make a living doing it, and all these other people seemed to be doing that. So I thought, here we go, no problem. And lo and behold, it didn't work out quite like that. It started out.
Story of our lives.
It was a little rough there. It was really scary. I knew that this is what I wanted to do, but for the first while, I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any systems. I didn't have any mentors. I just was trying to figure it out on my own. And I was living under the poverty level at that point, holding events, finding a client here or there, but I was living in New York City, and I remember it being really cold, and there was this slushy ice storm, and I was walking around to get to somewhere, and I had holes in my boots, and the water was getting in my boots, and my socks were really wet, and my feet were really cold, and I thought I'm gonna get frostbite, and I can't afford to get new boots. I'd like go by windows and look, and it's like, oh, one day I'll be able to afford boots. It was really scary. My roommates were letting me eat their food because I couldn't afford my own food. And yet I was determined, this is the thing that I'm going to do, and I'll take whatever part-time job in the meantime and whatever I needed to do. And for 3.5 years, I muddled around with it on my own, trying to figure out what are some good ways and some good practices to be able to sustain myself. And I figured some of them out. I figured some good stuff out, but still, I was stuck at a certain point. At the peak there, I managed to get myself to where I had 17 clients. They were all paying me about $500 a month or less. And I could barely support myself. Like, finally I could buy health insurance. But between those clients and creating the new clients and running the workshops and doing all the marketing and writing the blogs and the newsletters, I had no life. I had just enough money, and it was completely unsustainable, and I didn't know what to do. And the biggest lie in my head was this idea that I don't know how, therefore it's not for me, I shouldn't even try. And a coach friend of mine put this book, The Prosperous Coach, in my hand. I know you know about this book. And he said, read this book, it's gonna change your life. I was like, yeah, whatever.
One of those books.
Oh, many of those books, whatever. There's so many of them. And I read it, and I realized I actually knew Rich Litvin, who's one of the authors of the book. He's great. It's like, I found him on Facebook. Hey, Rich, I knew him a decade before. Did you write this book? Is this you? No way. And he had. And from what I had learned on my own to be true, in that book, I saw that that was true. People will only hire you once they have a true experience of you. I thought, hell, yeah. And I got I hired Rich as my coach, and I got involved in EverCoach, and I jumped into this community and started applying the things in that book, and started learning how to do all these elements that we talked about in this program. We're going to talk about in this program. And my practice went from 40 grand a year, like overnight, to 200 to 250. Mm-hmm. Unreal. I remember the first month I had a $20,000 month. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that's such a fluke. That will never happen again. Like, that is not who I am. I'm one of those people who struggle, who's poor, who just, it's not for me. That's the other people who are really amazing. And then I had my second one. My second month after that was 25 grand. And it was like, no way. I was walking down the street and I could feel myself. I could feel my identity shifting. It was disorienting. Oh my goodness. I'm one of the successful people. Whoa, what does that even mean? And it's not a fluke. It's amazing. And all those thoughts that I had in that beginning where I didn't know how, I just needed some models, some structures, someone to be like, here, it's really actually quite easy. And once you do the first one, the first group, the first intensive, the first apprenticeship, the first one, it's actually quite easy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I have never heard that story before. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was all that was happening. And I hear you when you talk about how you go through that dip in life and then you somehow find it and it feels like a magic wand for a little while, and then you realize now you've done the work for it and you figured it out and it was one step at a time, and how you make that journey. That's profound. I'm sure a lot of listeners right now who may be already at the level of success or maybe not at the level of success would go, damn, I can be there as well. So that thank you for sharing and being so open about your story. I think it's really helpful for everybody who's listening to it right now. What I want to make sure is that you understand that in this training, what we're giving you is a full structure of how to create a practice that maybe can help you do about 200,000 to $250,000 in revenue for your business while keeping the impact that you create with your clients, while keeping a limited number of clients that are good for you. You feel empowered by them. At the same point of time, you also get to create the revenue and the freedom for yourself. So that's what we're going to talk about as later part of this presentation. But what I want to circle back into is I know you've helped a lot of people transform their stories. And I think that will be very intriguing for our audience right now to kind of know as to how those transformations have happened. And if you could share some of those case stories, as we call them, with us.
Sure, yeah. There have been many and very varied in results and in what areas, but a few that would have to do directly with what we're talking about here. Let's see. There's this one client. So the way that I create my clients is in the Prosperous Coach style, where we have deep, deep conversations, and I serve them as powerfully as I can, and then they start applying these things. They have to start applying these things for me to know if I want to let them into my programs, even to begin with. And there's this one client, his name's Greg. He had a job. He was doing marketing, something like that. He was a really, really bright guy, very young. He was like 22 or something, but very bright, very driven, no excuses. We had a couple conversations and he lit up. He felt it in his bones, the truth of this and how much he had to serve. He quit his job. He didn't have the money to do my program, so he borrowed it from his grandmother. He paid it. He got in the program. There was a month and a half until the program started that he was just free to do whatever. He could have just watched TV all day. Instead, he started applying all of this stuff. He made back the money for the program before the program started. In his first year, brand new, he's just 22, he made 50 grand, which for a brand new coach, that's more than double what most coaches make. That was fantastic.
I read about it somewhere, that the story of how coaches make on an average $20,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the income that usually is generated.
Right.
So $50,000 is, like you said, more than twice.
More than twice
of what
that.
an average coach makes.
Totally.
So that's fantastic.
Totally.
Great to know.
Can I tell you one?
Yeah. Continue the story. No. I want to know, but I was just saying you are so right. It's like That's the average income you're talking about. A new coach, it's amazing.
Yeah, out of the gate, for sure. It took me a long time to get to that. So there's this other client. He worked with me, and at the beginning of our working engagement together, he was really personally ashamed of who he was. He had done some things in his youth that were not so good. And he was such a good guy at heart, but he'd had this history that he was so scared to let any of the world know. And he was a helper, and he was a coach, and he was very good at it, but he was hiding behind this persona. So when he joined my program, we all took a look at his website, and my group program. We all took a look at his website, and it was so fake. The whole thing was this way that he was coming across, trying to be like an executive, corporate, sort of professional, and it just felt like cardboard. You couldn't feel him at all. All of us basically were like, stop with this, you got to change. And the entire time we were working together, the point was who you are being, whatever your thing is, that's what's amazing. It's the deep inner work of it all. And applying these principles in a way that don't kind of get you out of your life and give you something that's outside of you, and then you get to be somebody else's system, do someone else's system, and then you're successful. It's about more and more and more crafting it in your way. Mm-hmm. So he did that. He came to terms with who he was, and he got that. Mm-hmm. So he finished the program. It was great. A couple months later, I get a text from him, or like a video text from him. You won't believe this, Christina. I don't even have a website anymore. Mm-hmm. I just had a $13,000 month. Mm-hmm. I've made more money in the last 3 months than I've ever made as a coach.
Wow.
It was incredible.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So what is it, some of the common things that you would say, so we can see the transformation can happen, right? Yeah. It's like it doesn't matter where you are at, you can get there with the right tools and of course the work. I mean, there is no taking away from the work. What we can provide is a structure to do the work, but still you gotta do the work. I mean, there is no excuse or escape from it. There is no magic bullet. But there are certain things that most of the people kind of believe. They come from the mindset of saying, oh, but I absolutely need that, right? Like, for example, a lot of people believe, oh, I need a lot of clients. Like that's a common myth that goes around, right? Oh, I need hundreds of clients. I need like the largest email list, et cetera, to be able to get any success like Greg of making $13,000 a month. He must have 100,000 people on his list or some insane number like that, right? Yeah. So, and I know it's not the truth. What would you say to people who believe that?
Well, so before all of this started, I had a blog, I had a newsletter, I had the whole opt-in thing. I was trying to get those numbers up in that way. I switched over to doing things in the Prosperous Coach way, to doing things way more from service and putting my gift out there. I don't have a newsletter anymore. I don't have an opt-in. I don't write a blog. I only do those things that I really like doing, like making videos. I love making videos. It's my new thing. So I'll do that. But I found the way that I can do it in a way that feels really, really good. As far as how many clients, I had those 17 clients and it was crazy. Therapists have like 40 clients. I don't understand how you can put attention on that many people. Right now, I have 5-ish one-on-one clients at a time. That's it. I have a couple of coaching programs, groups going, which take me, it's like a 2-hour call 3 times a week. That's it. You do not need to load yourself or overload yourself with work. That said, there are times when there's work and there's more of a crunch time, but then there are times where it's you get to decide, I get these 3 days off in a row every week, no matter what, and that's fine. You can do that. It's such a relief to only have to take 5 people under my wing at one time and give them the attention, the love, the nurturing, the caring, the focus that I can, instead of when I have 20. Yeah.
That's true. Which, by the way, if you really listen into it, she said she has 5 clients, which means you don't need 100,000 people list to be able to create the thriving business that you want to create. And I want to kind of stress on that, because I know a lot of people get attached to the idea of, oh, it's working for you because you must have so many fans, or you must have so much, which is what the world tells you, right? It's like, oh, build an email list, and that's what you got to do to build a coaching business. So not true.
Not true.
So
can be
not
helpful
true.
sometimes, but not necessary.
Yeah, not necessary, exactly. And one more thing that a lot of people, and this is what I call the fear of success sometimes, is that people feel, oh, but once I have that, I'll lose freedom. I'll not be able to have the time that I really want. Is when you build that business, you know, oh, now you have so much commitment. And I could, you were kind of leaning into it. So I want you to kind of expand on that.
Yeah. Okay, well, this is an ongoing learning process for me around that, because at every next level of success, what I've discovered is, okay, my own personal story. This is a little vulnerable. Beginning to experience success for the first time feels so good that it becomes, or it can become, so fun that then the most fun thing for me to do was keep doing what I was doing and working, because I loved it so much. And I got on this track of just more and more working, and then more and more success, and it just sort of fed on itself, and then it was like too much, until all of a sudden I hit a wall. And my homework that my coach was giving me was go on vacation. And just blindly, as a new successful entrepreneur, not realizing pacing, because it was just so exciting to do the work. Now, I realize how supremely important it is to design your life first. So the first thing that goes in my calendar now, whether it's every week or every month, is time with friends. This is when I'm going on vacation. These are the times that I'm going dancing. This is me time first. And then all the coaching work goes around that. The building the business practice goes around that. Otherwise, it'll completely swallow it up if you're really driven and ambitious like I am. And it's totally doable. There are times in the cycle where you really have to hustle. You know, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that. If you're going to be, you know, it depends on how big you want your business to be. If you want to have $1 million business, that requires some effort in a certain way. If you want a $100,000 business, it's a different story, right? But even though you want $1 million business, that's where the team comes in, right? Finding the people around you and the support around you and beginning to delegate the work that you still can, as your own boss, say, you know what, I'm taking 3 weeks off in August, and that's amazing. There's no one that you have to ask permission for. You need to plan it, but then you get your time.
Yeah, and it's also a little bit dependent on, I mean, and because I'm just stepping into, while you were saying, well, 100,000, 200,000, what does it mean? These are just numbers if you really think about it.
Right.
But if you actually are designing a freedom-based business, or a business where you want a lot more freedom, you'll realize you actually don't need the millions of dollars. You can design, like I was just talking to another friend who's on the set with us, and he just shared some stats with me, which says 1%, if you're in the top 1% of America, you are on an average making $380,000, right? That's when you're already in 1%. And that's like 1% of all Americans, right? I'm not even, if you're in top 10% of all Americans, you're already making 100,000. So the moment you cross the 6 figure, you're already in top 10% of America. So it's kind of a little bit crazy that sometimes we think that the measure of success is these big numbers, but actually sometimes for whatever you want, if you really work backwards and kind of go, what's the lifestyle that I want? And in that lifestyle, let's say freedom is a big priority. You don't need to build a big team. You can build a small team and create a business that does $250,000 or whatever, 200,000, 100,000, 50,000, doesn't matter, whatever that is. Which is designed for your lifestyle. You don't have to worry about making tons and tons of money there. So great reframe there. Great piece on understanding freedom, creating freedom, and knowing what freedom's barometer is, kind of, in a way. A lot of people also feel that it's you need to have a big name. You need to be a celebrity. And they kind of compare and go, oh, you can do it because you're a celebrity. I get that all the time. Oh, you can do it. You can charge that kind of money because you're a celebrity. And I'm like, not true. Why don't you expand on that?
Not true. Not true. I was speaking with Steve Chandler. I don't know if you know who he is. He wrote The Prosperous Coach with Rich the other day, because there's a billionaire. It's almost like they're these like paragons for coaching clients, like a billionaire, who I was potentially going to be speaking with to potentially coach. And he was saying, and this was really interesting, people who are really successful don't want to have a famous coach. They like to have a secret weapon. There's this something about not everybody knowing who you are that actually makes you even more desirable for a lot of people. The whole kind of fame thing is this going after likes on Facebook thing, you know, like that works somehow if you're selling the volume of people who like you and know you as a celebrity is useful if you're selling something that's, you know, $50, $100, you know, volume kind of sales thing. But if you're creating a coaching practice where you're doing deep personal work and the packages that you're selling are high-priced packages, the only thing that matters is that this person spent time with you, and in that time that they spent with you, something magnificent happened in their lives because of it. You helped them out. They felt some kind of magic. That's all they need. They do not need to know that you're famous and that other people think you're amazing. They just need to know that you can help them.
And that is all.
That's it.
That is all you need to worry about.
All you need. You don't even need a website.
We've already seen.
Yeah.
And also there is a common belief that people think that to be able to build a business that creates that kind of revenue, or whatever kind of revenue that whoever's on the call, and we'll do some numbers later for you to kind of see how to really design your own packages at different price points to be able to get to your revenue goal, whatever that is. People feel that they need a lot of investment to be made in their business.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, financially
in their business. Yeah, I think that I personally really like investing in my business. I make the money that I make, and then most of it goes right back into my business because I've seen how that helps me. And I love to learn. I really love to learn and to train and to do that kind of thing. And that isn't absolutely necessary. You get to go at whatever pace it is that you go at. You get to, you know what it is? There's so much incredible stuff out there, books that you can buy, programs like this one that you could take and learn and understand all of these principles. And if you're one of those people who will actually go out there and begin applying the principles that you learn in these sorts of programs, you will see so much happen for you. If you're willing to try it out, let it fail, try it a different way, research different things, you can do it yourself. I love having a coach to help me through it, right? To show me, to shine the light. And I did it for 3.5 years. I got myself to around 40, 50 grand alone without investing all that money by tinkering and applying the things that I was learning. That was really great.
That's true. So your investment is a choice, pretty much. If you want to make, yes, you can invest a lot in your business, but you don't have to.
No.
It depends how far you want to go and how fast you want to go. It's almost like an acceleration thing.
Right.
If you put investment, it'll give you speed. It's like adding fuel to your car. So let's get into it. Let's go into actually talking about the whole packaging and how to create these packages and how to build these elements out for you and your business as a coach, okay?
Great.
But before that, I want you to kind of lean into, before we get into the actual package structure and everything and how you can create those different tiers and different price points and create a business and give them a system, I want you to kind of tell them the truth about a great coaching practice. It's kind of like, I call it the intervention sometimes, is that you kind of need to know some things before you get there.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to kind of highlight that.
Yeah. The truth. Wow, there's so many truths. It helps to have a structure. It helps to have some kind of scaffolding that you could then work off of. There really is not one way to do it. And if you're looking for a product or a system or a book or a teacher who's going to say to you, these are the 5 steps and do the 5 steps, and then boom, 6-figure business or 7-figure business, whatever, it's really not going to work that way, because that's what that person did for themselves to get themselves there, and you're a different person. That said, especially in the beginning, near the beginning of a practice, like where I was when I couldn't feed myself, it would have helped me so much if someone could have just said, here's an idea. Here's 5 different ways you can do this. Or here's a general sense of how most people do it. Figure out your way of applying these or testing these out. Figure out, well, I like this, but I don't like this, and I'm going to try these out. But somewhere to start from that gave me the confidence that, okay, I know what I'm doing, enough that I can start. When it was a whole, like, I just don't know how, I don't know anything and I don't know how, it's like deer in the headlights and there's no movement. So there are many, many ways. It's up to you to find your way.
So one thing that I want to take a segue from it is knowing that, I mean, at least for all my businesses, I think real power comes when we start talking about structures a lot more. You know, like as much as a lot of people also go in and talk about, you know, just the whole mind game a lot, mindset, but they kind of forget that yes, you need to make that transformative shift in your mindset. Yes, you need all that training, but they forget that it needs to be followed through with a powerful system that can allow you to take that mindset. Okay, let's say you have had the mind shift. The first thing that will happen when you have the mind shift is you'll go, I need a structure. I need a system. I need a method to put into this madness for me to be able to get closer or kind of get a direction to where I really want to go. So I just want to reiterate that point, because that's been the most powerful thing that I learned, is that I can keep winging it, and yes, it works. It's not that it doesn't work at all. I mean, not taking it away, like Christina already said. There are many methods, there are many ways, but if you understand certain ways, it's like, you know, you've learned 10 ways of cooking pasta, and then you pick which one you like best, or whatever is the outcome is the best one, but then you make it yours. But you need to know the broad framework or the broad strokes for you to be able to actually achieve that success. And yes, learning how to coach is one of the broad strokes, is to actually be able to deliver what you promise, but so is business. So is knowing what makes business really tick, right? Because you've enrolled the clients, but have you enrolled them at the right price point, the right packages? What do those packages look like? What needs to happen in that package? All that, if you don't or haven't worked it out or have no direction towards, what happens is you will stumble and fall, and then you'll learn, and then you'll stumble and fall and you learn, just because you didn't take the first step of saying, let me learn a little bit about it, and then let me stumble and fall on it, at least I'll fall better, right? So it's kind of like that. So I love that, and I think that's a truth that needs to be told, that people need to kind of understand and know that yes, and because there are a lot of coaches are creative people, like all business people, right? We are all creative souls, and we like to create, and we like to create, and we like to create. But we forget that even creation, when done in a structure, becomes a beautiful outcome. I mean, you can create without the structure as well, but when you're creating with structure, sometimes it becomes an even more beautiful painting.
Totally.
With that, I would love to segue, and I picked up your note to
Thank you.
Because it gets mathematical at this point. So I'd love for you to kind of walk our audience through what are these things? What are these elements that we talk about? And then how does that help the structure? How does that become the business model?
How do you put it together?
Yeah, how do you put it together? And how that can create the freedom and abundance that they're looking for.
Yeah, great. So what I really love about this program, and that I had the opportunity to do and bring to everyone, is not just here are the 5 different things that you can do as a coach, but then this is how you do them. It's not just here what they are, this is what you should price them at, or an idea of what you should price them at, but like, then how do you do that thing? So we go over, like, what we first learn in coach training is there's me, there's a client over here, we do some coaching, and this is what one-on-one coaching looks like. And then you're sent off into the world of coaching, build your own business, go for it, and do this. And it makes sense that you think, okay, I have to do this a lot with a lot of people. That's the only way I know how to make money and support myself, is do a lot of one-on-one coaching. This is not true. So one-on-one coaching is one aspect of a coaching package that you should be creating in your business. What are all of the elements that you can offer somebody who might potentially want to work with you? And let them pick, or pick between the two of you, the one that fits the best and that works the best for you in the way that you want to grow your business, so that you can have that freedom that you want. So we talk about one-on-one coaching. What are the elements? What do you need to pay attention to? How do you do that? How do you structure a program? How long is it? How long do you have your sessions for? What kinds of contracts or assessments or agreements? What's the difference between corporate and not corporate clients? What does one-on-one coaching actually entail in terms of the logistics inside your coaching practice? And then how do you do it well? So a few things on how to do it well as well. This isn't a coach training per se, but there's that in there as well. But beyond that, one of my favorite ways to work with people, and this made a tremendous difference to my bottom line, and that's where you begin to leverage your time. Group coaching, creating groups. So great, because it's not just you and what you can bring to somebody. When you get a bunch of people together and they're all brilliant people, they can share their wisdom. You can create these really interesting dynamics between all of them and create challenges and games. There's a way that they motivate each other, so it's not just on you. Working in a group personally, that's my favorite way to be coached. I've done both, private and in the group. I love the group. So we go into, well, how do you design a group program? And I didn't do it forever because I didn't know how. So this is my how from the 7th, I'm on my 7th one at the moment, I think. This is everything I know around how to run a group. That will no longer be an excuse for you. Then we have things like intensives. And these are not the intensives where you're having a huge workshop in a hotel. These are the kinds of intensives when it's you and somebody on top of a mountain changing their lives. 2 or 3 days where you take them out of their regular original life into a really interesting space between the two of you and really dig out those layers, shift their perspectives, and launch them into whatever their next iteration of their life is going to be. How do you do that? It's really exciting to do, but it's also scary if you haven't done that before. What are all the elements that go into creating an intensive? And then we have apprenticeships, yeah. Where once you reach a certain level of skill and proficiency and craftsmanship in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's coaching or consulting or something else that you do, you can begin to very personally, with maybe 1 or 2 people, take someone under your wing in that style of working with someone where they get to see everything that you do and model from everything that you do, where you get to keep an eye on them and supervise them in a way that most people don't get. That's the kind of training that helps people move so fast, so far. Having a mentor is so important, helping them connect to other important people in their industry. It's really a beautiful, intimate kind of relationship that you can add into your package that you're offering to others. So here is an example of how to put a package together that could get you to, let's say, $200,000. And it's not like that's some golden number. You might have another number that you would like to play with or reach. But here's a version of this where you can see how these elements come together and offer you that freedom of that lifestyle that you're looking for. And it's so doable. So first imagine that you have 5, we were talking about 5 one-on-one clients a year, 5, who are paying you $10,000. Whether that's a 6-month program or a year-long program, we talk about further in the Elements program how to set those to the 6 months or 1 year or 3 months, that kind of thing. We get into the details. But let's just say you have 5 and they're all paying you 10 grand. That's great. That's $50,000 already. Then on top of that, let's say that 3 times a year, only 3 times a year, you run a group coaching program. You have 7 people in it. They pay you $5,000 each. That's not a lot. And it's a cheaper way for them to work with you than a one-on-one way. If you have 3 of those groups, you're making $105,000 just on those groups, plus your 5 $10,000 clients. And then let's say that you run 2 intensives, only 2, and you price them at around 9 grand. And there's an example in the program of someone who go through what to do in a 3-day intensive with somebody at that rate. And then you have 1 apprentice who's paying you, let's say, $27,000. There's your $200,000 a year. That's not that many people. You get to work with people in all these varied ways, some very intensely, some in a more playful group kind of way. And if those prices seem like a big stretch to you, you can half them. And then you still have a 6-figure year. It can go in so many directions. But if you have these elements to move around and play with, you can get very creative and you can get to whatever your financial goal is a lot quicker than if you're just trying to do this one-on-one thing and get as many people as you can. Mm-hmm. That's going to just
That's amazing. That's amazing. I don't know if you, for the listeners, so you might have already realized that is less than 100 people. I think it's less than 50 people. I think like the numbers, because I don't remember exactly how many people were coming. But even if like nobody does anything else, which by the way is, if you know and if you've been coaching, you know, somebody who starts to take an experience with you starts to take many experiences with you. They'll not only do one-on-one, they might end up doing an intensive with you, they might end up in your group, they might end up in many different places. So you're talking less than 30 or 50 clients, which is, you can pick up your Rolodex right now and find 50 people.
Absolutely.
You don't need a lot of clients to be able to create 200,000 revenue. 200,000 in revenue, you're already in like top 5% of the country or something, right? So, and that is a lot of freedom, as you saw. There's 5 one-on-one clients. Let's say you talk to them in the same day or whatever, every day, if you're talking every day, but you're not. So you talk once a week, let's say, for example, with them. It's a day's work. Your group coaching, you were saying 2 hours in a week. So you pretty much can be working 3 to 4 days a week, or maybe even 2 to 3 days a week, and you can still create that revenue for yourself. So it is not only revenue freedom, it's time freedom, which I think as a coach is very important to us, because we want to invest that time in our own learning. Like you said, we want to figure out what is a better way of not only doing business, but what is a better way of living life? What is a better way of doing things around, how to have more impact, do our philanthropic projects and all that kind of stuff, right? So as coaches, we are very passionate about all these other ideas to be able to have more conversations, go to more events, impact more people. And I think that simple structure gives, and hopefully has given you the confidence of understanding that you can design the life that you want to have very easily, very, very fast, very confidently, because you are actually not looking at creating 100,000 clients. You're creating maybe 20, maybe 30 clients in total to be able to create $200,000 in revenue. Beautiful. It's amazing. It can be that simple. It's simple and easy are 2 different words. It'll be simple, yes, it's structurally, because it simplifies in your mind what is possible. But of course, it's going to be work still. So it's not going to be easy.
Glad you said that.
It's still going to take the work, which actually takes me to my next question to you, which is, it looks very easy right now, right? And it looks simple as well. But what would you say will happen to coaches who would just start to do it? As to what is it that they would be going through as they're, sorry about if you're getting the background sign, guys. We are outside here in San Diego, and when it's a sunny day, sun shines on our faces, so I don't know if you can even see me right now. And there are trucks around us, so it can happen. Sorry about that if you got that background sound. But coming back to the question, what would you say would happen to coaches that are looking at and going, oh, okay, so I can do this? What would be the first few roadblocks or first few mindset blocks or first few situations that you would think that they would get trapped into?
I love that. Yeah. Here's that back for you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I've worked with a lot of coaches. So these are the ones that come up the most. I think the one that comes up the most is, they don't even say this, but they've never done it before, whatever it is, run a group, have an apprenticeship, run an intensive. Maybe it's too early for a brand new coach to have an apprenticeship, but stuff like that. And so they don't know how to, and they don't even try. There's not even a sense that it's a possibility for them. And then when they finally let out this peep of a desire, like they come out from hiding, it's like, I think I'd like to do that. Then it's this entire hurdle of actually getting to the first step and doing it, like saying, okay, I'm doing this, putting it out in the world, I'm doing this, before you feel you're ready. You don't have to feel you're ready. You don't need to have run 3 of these already, know that what you're doing now, feel confident, and now can offer the program. You absolutely must offer your first coaching program before you've ever run one, or run your first apprenticeship, or run your first intensive, or do your first speaking gig, or run your first community event. You got to do that first one. You got to do that second one before you can do the 3rd and 5th and 10th, and where you kind of know what you're doing like the back of your hand. Every single one of us coaches who you see out there and you think, wow, if only I was more like that person or more like that person, or it's so easy for them because whatever. Every single one of us have had that very first experience. I remember my first group program that I ran. I was working with Rich Litvin at the time, and I was so scared to do my first call in my first group program that it's like, hey, Rich, would you like to be a guest on my first call? I'm sure everyone would love that. But really it was because I was terrified and didn't know what I was doing. And he got on that call and we did it, and I was shaking the whole time, and I think I made a fool of myself. I'm not really sure. But then the second call was less scary, and by the third call it was fine. Go for that scary, excited feeling and do the thing before you think you're ready. That's one of them. Another one is, there are so many coaches out there. Why on earth would somebody want to work with me in that way, or pay me that much money, or join my group, or whatever it is? There's so many. And you're right. There are so many coaches. 10 years ago, there were not this many coaches. Now, coaching's this thing where I kind of don't know what I want to do with my life, so maybe I'll be a coach. It's so prevalent. Everyone knows about it. And the thing is, a lot of people say they're coaches, but don't do the training, don't do the work, don't have the experience, don't go through that initial stage where you get your wings, that you end up becoming a really great coach. Once you really know what you're doing and you start having powerful experiences with potential clients, it doesn't matter that there are 100 other coaches waiting behind you. You're the one that person had a really intense, perfect, amazing experience that then shifted something for them in their lives. That's one thing. And another thing is that everyone does it differently. The way I do it, someone else, you're going to do it completely differently from me. Your energy, the things that you're passionate about, the people that you connect with, the sparkle in your eye is going to be different. And the clients who will want to come to me won't necessarily want to come to you. And the people who are going to want to come to you are not really going to resonate with me. You don't need to worry about there's 1,000 other coaches out there. All you need to do to nip that in the bud is really get centered in you, your passion, your power, and step out into the world owning it in whatever way you like to do that. Then there's no issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's powerful, and it's very important for people to know, because like we were talking about previously, now people think, oh, there are so many coaches, how do I stand out?
Yeah.
It's very, very evident that you can. There's also a lot of people who might go right now, well, I have learned about this other system, and then there's this other system, and then now you're talking about a system. Yeah. What's the system?
Right. Okay, well, so I'm not talking about a system. So this isn't like a 5-step process. This is outlining elements of what makes up a coaching practice, and basically downloading. I sat in front of a camera and we worked about this, and I talked about this, and I'm talking to you, and really highlighted everything that I've learned up until now on how to do all of these different elements. And then it's up to you to figure out how to put them together and make it work for you. I've given you options. You could do it this way. You could do it this way. You could do it this way. And then you pick the one that resonates the most with you. There are a bunch of systems out there. There isn't one that's the magic one, and if you just click that button and you figure it out, is it behind door number 1 or behind door number 3? I got that system. It's not that. Find the ones that resonate with you. That something, before you buy it, there's something in it that feels like, there's an element of truth here. Kind of like when I read The Prosperous Coach. There's an element of truth here. I recognize that. I wonder what would happen if I started applying these things. And my guess is for the people who purchase program after program after program, or try, getting a system after a system after a system, and don't see any results, my guess is nothing's been applied. You haven't actually done the things. So if you learn and then you try it out, you inadvertently will begin to see results. It's not so much about which system, it's more about what are you doing once you've gotten that information? Are you actually applying it?
That is so true. Some time ago, when I got exposed to the whole coaching experience and started being a coach, I started with one-on-one coaching. But then after that, I was like, okay, what next? Because this seems really time-consuming. Because it is. One-on-one coaching means really deep work with one individual or one team or whatever that is for you, and whatever type of coaching you do. Because it is that much of an intense experience, it also is a lot of time commitment. But that's pretty much as much exposure a coach gets, especially when they're just starting out, or even if they've started out in a while. When they go, oh, I've heard this term called doing an intensive. I've heard this term called group coaching. I was very lost. I was like, I don't know, what does it mean? What does it implicate? What is it that I got to do to be able to actually create a group coaching program, for example? How do I structure it? What should be there? What shouldn't be there? How much do I have to commit as time? All those how-tos that show up once you've made that decision of saying, okay, I want to do that. I want to go for it, but how do I figure out what needs to happen? And I realized at that time I was just fortunate to be around coaches like yourself and several of the coaches who were happy to guide me and say, okay, so this is how you put this together, this is how you put this together, this is how you put this together, which is why I realized that a lot of coaches would probably be like, okay, I know I should be doing a group coaching program, but how?
I don't know.
What do I do? I know I should be doing it, and I'm ready to do it. But what next? I mean, do I need a structure? What is the structure? How do I come up with a structure? What do I tell my clients? All that kind of stuff. And then, of course, all the fears show up, and you go, oh, well, like you were saying, it's so scared on the call, and then I had to call my coach to come on the call because I was just uncomfortable. How to get past that is kind of critical when you're creating. When you've moved past the thing of saying, okay, let me get one more one-on-one client at X dollars, which only takes, it's great, there's nothing wrong with it, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and you should have your one-on-one clients, but at the same point in time, that's limiting. That can only take you as far as it can take you, because after that it gets very tiring, it's too intense, it's just not the full use of your impact that you can create, or it's not you playing full out in a lot of ways. Which is why when we were talking about this product, which we're going to tell you in just a minute about, we said, okay, let's make it as detailed as we can. But at the same point, I'm not give it a step 1 to 5, like, which is also your way of communicating. You go, hey, listen, it's not step A, B, C, D. It's actually, here's an element, here's another element, here's another element, here's another element. Now you see which ones work for you and play with it to see if that's the perfect structure or you want to tweak the structure. But what you get is a great baseline.
Yeah.
You get a great way to get started and not feel that's the reason why you can't get started. And I love that about it. I love that experience that I had once I started my programs, because like I said, at 1-to-1, I was starting to cap out. I wanted to tap out. I was like, this is not working. It's only those many people. And as much as, like, I like to weigh my time in money. So I tend to go, what's my hourly worth, let's say, for example, or how much if I spend an hour, what does it really replicate to as revenue? And I like to push myself and challenge myself to increase that every other time. And I was like, I could keep increasing my prices on 1-to-1, and I had already hit like 100,000 to work with me as a client. And I was like, but it's not as much fun because I get to play only this one business. So for me, I'm a business coach. It was limiting after that point. And I said, okay, so what can I do? And that's where I got exposed to the idea of group coaching program. I did my first group coaching, and in the same amount of time, now I generate 200,000. So my value per hour dramatically goes up, right? So it kind of completely switches the story, because you realize, oh, in a group setting, you can serve a lot more people, still at a price point that seems fair, like you were saying, $5,000 or $7,000, whatever that price point is for group coaching. It's more impact because you're getting more results for your clients, but at the same point of time, you are also generating more time freedom for yourself, because that's time is also currency, right? And a lot of us want to have that freedom because we like to invest that time in ourselves. So almost my transition happened from, oh crap, I will spend so much time coaching these clients, I don't want to get more clients, to, oh wow, I can actually serve a lot more clients, make it a lot easy for them to make a commitment, because now you can enter and work with me in a group setting at a much cheaper price. And at the same point in time, have multiple transformative results. So I get to play my impact, I get to add to revenue, and I get to more time freedom, which is also a critical element. So it was just that I could see that life unfolding with every time I introduced one more element, but in a slightly different way. And I said, okay, I want to limit that there, I want to limit that there, I want to limit that there, because I designed my life around saying, can I run my whatever revenue goal I have, can I run that through this filter almost that you just explained to everyone. And mine was a bigger number than 200,000, but can be a smaller number than 200,000. You can just go math-wise, you can literally go put down these 4 or 5 elements and go, okay, this is the price point, how many do I need to enroll in this? And you will realize it almost never crosses 50 people. So it's less than 50 people we are talking about, which is probably in the neighborhood.
In a year.
Oh yeah, that's also. So it's less than 50 people in 365 days. If you assume that you work all 365 days, that means you need 1 enrollment every 6 days or something, if my math's correct. Or even longer, probably like 7 days. But whatever the thing is, but that's less than 1 enrollment in a week is what you have to do to be able to achieve that goal. So it can become that easy. It can become that, not easy, sorry, it can become that simple. It's not going to be easy. It's still going to be work. Still you need to get on the phone. Still you need to go do the talking. You still need to go do the work of actually laying out what the program looks like, what the intensive looks like, what the group coaching looks like, which we educate you on in the Elements program if you decide to take that journey. But you will have to do the work, that is undoubted, but you don't have to make your life complicated by saying it only has to be one way. Just choose the ways that you feel is right for you, tweak those products, tweak those packages for yourself based on the structures that we'll anyways give to you in the Elements program, and use that to create actually a more larger, more encompassing coaching practice, instead of limiting yourself to one-on-one coaching.
I gotta say, you were saying those numbers and it was like 1 every 6 days, whoa. And it's less than that. Yeah. It's a few a month. Yeah. There's some months when there are more, and there's some months where I'll enroll 1 person. Yeah. And I know that's okay. It's so different. Like it's a game changer, isn't it, when you add that group in? Yeah. Oh, it's totally a game changer. Totally a game changer. And now the excuse of I don't know how, no longer an excuse. Yeah. It's definitely not. This is everything that I wish someone had told me when I started.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
I wish the same.
Yeah.
I had to call a lot of people to figure it out. And that's why I was so passionate about when we were talking about we should do something together. And I was like, if we can do this for the coaches out there, I think it would be tremendous help, because nobody talks about this stuff, or they talk about it and they want to charge like $5,000 for the same education that we're giving away at what we call now a commitment price, to be able to say, we are ready to commit to transforming your coaching practice if you're ready to commit. Right now, there's a huge discount on it. You'll find the link on this page somewhere, either below or on the side or something, but you will find a really special price for this product. Usually, I know in this world, in the coaching world especially, because everybody, we just feel that as a coach, as Christina, we want to take our message to as many people. So we want you to have a great experience, get that transformation at a price that even if it's almost like a throwaway price. It's almost like a cup of coffees or whatever for you. But at the same point in time, it is not a couple, but like quite a few cups of coffees. But still, it's probably less than your date dinner or whatever. So have one indoor in-house date, and you'll probably recoup all the investment on this. But anyways, the point being that we didn't want to make it really expensive or really something we could have charged thousands of dollars for. But at the same point in time, we wanted to make it accessible. We wanted you to have the transformation. We wanted you to have the ability to be able to take this information and use it in your business. I mean, what is really critical for us, both of us, is that you actually take it home and you not just read it and forget about it, but use this information. It's very easy to consume format. It has a lot of how-tos, a lot of exercise sheets. It has things like contracts and all, so you can literally, like if you're so attached to contracts and all that kind of stuff, you have templates that you can copy. Not that you have to be attached to that, and you talk about that more about that in the program. But if you're attached to it, you have the templates for that. You have templates for
tracking sheets.
Tracking sheets.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell us more. What is in there in the program? What all are they getting?
So you're getting all the different elements that we spoke about and how to do all of those. Along with that, you're going to get contracts and terms and agreements and discovery packets and pre-session forms and post-session forms, all the different things that I've used or other coaches I know. I've asked a bunch of other coaches that I really admire, hey, what do you use with your CEO clients? What do you use to do your intensive? What do you, and they've agreed to be like, here, you could show it to everybody. Just make sure they make their own. So you can use these yourself, just copy and paste them, or you can make your own, which is absolutely more powerful, way more powerful way to go, because you'll come through. But filtering questions, what happens when you have way too many people who want to work with you? You don't have the time. This is something that we've been talking a lot about here, having the time. This stuff is going to save you so much time. One, from learning it all, figuring it out on your own. And two, from doing activities that you don't need to be doing. It's all in there. Everything I could possibly get in there for you, I got in there for you. And you know, like having it be at a lower price point so that you can really get it. For me, the satisfaction is knowing that a whole lot of coaches out there are going to stop wasting their time muddling around, trying to figure it out, not knowing what they're doing.
And that's so important. I mean, our time is more valuable sometimes than anything else, right? So it's very, very important for both of us that you take action and you take action in the right direction, which is why we've tried to give you a lot of tools within the program, not only education, which is just, hey, here is how you do it, but actually give you tools to be able to take it home, implement it for yourself. What we are also giving you is the ability to try this program. You don't have to really decide now. You have to take action. You have to make a commitment. There's a commitment price right now that is available on this page that you can go and take action on. But let's say you watch the program and you feel it's not congruent to you, it doesn't feel right to you, if you feel that it wasn't what we say that we'll deliver, you have a full 30-day refund guarantee on that program, which basically means that if you choose at any point that program wasn't right for you or we did not deliver our promise, you can simply send an email to support@evercoach.com and my team will be more than willing to refund full amount as fast as we can. We don't work weekends, so don't expect it on the weekend, but at the same point in time, as fast as we can, we will try to make sure that you have got your refund. Okay, so it's fully risk-free for you. You can take the decision in the 30 days that you have to try the program. and then make a decision after that, and we'll fulfill our promise. We'll stay true to that. Okay. So that's one more benefit for you to go ahead and actually take action right now. What I do want to kind of address is maybe a little voice in your head right now, which is going and telling you you can do this, right? Because I know one of the greatest fears I had when for example, when I started coaching for the first time, I couldn't price myself for crap because I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can charge this kind of money. I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm meant for this. I don't think I will like it. Like, there's so many barriers that come into our head time and again, and we feel, oh, this is not for me. This is not me. This is not going to work. Like, we doubt ourselves way more than other people doubt us, right? Like, some of my clients would have more faith in my tests that I want them to do than I had my faith on the test that I wanted them to do. And they would go, no, we can see it working. Let's do this. And it was more, and I'm grateful for that they had so much confidence in me, but I know that we doubt ourselves all the time. And it doesn't go away ever. So that's also one hard truth, just to let you know, right? It never goes away, right? Self-doubt all the time, all the time. Sitting right now telling you, doubting myself all the time, but you got to get past that. You got to get past your own self-doubt. You got to let that little voice in your head go away and make the decision of choosing or not choosing. If this is not for you, then it's absolutely fine. Totally. We are still trying our best to add as much value to you. And I'm sure you've got a structure that you can use and at least kind of go, okay, this is what I can do to create my lifestyle, my life plan, life path. I'm so sure that I've had a lot of transformations that have happened in your head right now while we're talking about the self-doubt, and you kind of see an agreement between two people who have been doing this for a bit and have had found some success with it, saying, oh yeah, I doubt myself all the time. So you feel okay and comfortable with that. So if you feel this is right for you, there's a link on this page. Go ahead and take action. And like I said, we are already giving you a commitment price right now on this event because you're watching and you invest the time already. So we feel that your commitment is already there. We're also giving you a ton of worksheets, systems, models. We'll probably add a bonus to it. For that matter, hell yeah, we'll have a bonus where we will have some call recordings with Christina just explaining how really to go about doing this program, only if you take action right now and go ahead and make this commitment and take action towards moving forward with Elements. So that's pretty much it. Sure that you've got a ton of notes, a whole booklet of it, or at least you're ready to structure your entire business around the different elements that we talked about briefly today. Is there a closing thought that you want to leave everybody with?
You can do it. You really, really can. And it can be really fun.
It will be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. See you around.
Everyone, Greg Faxon here. And if you're watching this video, you might be trying to decide whether or not to work with Christina Berkley. And I want to tell you why I think you should absolutely pull the trigger on it. Okay, I worked with Christina for 1 year. We did 6 months in Hatch, and then we did 6 months privately. And that first Hatch investment was scary for me. It was the first high-end coach that I ever hired. And I actually replaced the investment for Hatch before the group even began, just based on the first few conversations that Christina and I had. You know, I got my first long-term paying clients, and over this last year, I've replaced the income from my consulting job, all right? But more importantly, I've just developed more of a sense of ease. As a high performer, it's so easy to get into your head. It's easy to become robotic. And Christina's core brilliance, in my opinion, is helping people lead with love. And what that means is actually accessing your heart and your feelings. And that's what's going to take you to the next level of performance. Very rarely is it just doing more or trying harder. There's a lot of inner game stuff that you're going to need to master, and that's one of the areas where Christina really shines. Now, if you're able to lead with love, not only will your business grow, but you'll also feel more passionate about it when you wake up, you're less likely to burn out, and you'll create messaging and marketing that really connects with your people because they can feel you, they can feel your authenticity and vulnerability. So those are some of the things that Christina and I worked on, and the results have been transformational. Highly recommend you work with her. Make that bold decision today and go for it.
Hi, my name is Leah Petrusic. I am a client of Christina Berkley's. Before working with Christina, I had 0 clients, no online presence, and no website, and just a strong desire to get my coaching business flourishing, and absolutely zero results yet, with a whole wall of obstacles. Upon working with Christina and joining her Hatch program, I tripled my rates, charging rates I never even dreamed was possible. I have a full clientele load. I now coach full-time. I have a strong online presence and a website. I began writing for online articles. Getting my writing published for Elephant Journal, Rebel Society, and Medium, and Alight Daily. And I led my first workshop all within 6 months of working with her. And the thing that I can say around her true gift is that she never stopped believing in me. And there's a way that she sees me as an individual, and I truly feel her like believing in me as being so capable and so powerful and so brilliant. I just can't help but believe it and believe in myself that I'm capable of doing these things. And one thing Christina always says is hide nothing, hold nothing back. And I can truly say on her end, she totally shows up to do the same. And she has taught me so much around what it means to be a coach by being vulnerable and being curious and holding such a high bar for your clients and pushing their edges in a both gentle and loving and challenging way, walking that line of just challenging and lovingly graceful at the same time, and just so grateful for her.
Since I have been working with Christina, I've noticed a major transformation in my life. I've signed my first couple of clients. I've been a guest on a podcast, something I would have been terrified to do in the past. With my other business, I was able to make a huge proposal with confidence. And all that aside, I have to say that the connections that I'm having in my own life have just gotten so much deeper and increased. I'm connecting with so many more people, even all over the world. I just had a Skype with somebody in London, and today I'm Skyping with somebody in Switzerland. And that definitely was one of my intentions going into working with her, like building up that confidence in myself, to just put myself out there more, because I really was craving that connection. And I have to say, I achieved all of that, and I'm just excited to continue working with her and see what other magic unfolds. So.